I want to go to a question, or rather a comment from one of our listeners. They say, and I quote, "I've been told we will have to pay to go to the beach if the yes vote passes." We get a few comments like this sent in, but this one seems to have a similar message to a certain viral video that was shared by Pauline Hanson and reported in the ABC. Paul, can you tell me a bit about this story?
So recently, Pauline Hanson shared this viral video. It's a confrontation between an Indigenous mother and daughter and an elderly white woman in the coastal Queensland town of Puna. It's got more than 1.5 million views across Facebook, Twitter and TikTok. The woman in the video is heard shouting at a white woman to leave the foreshore, which belongs to the Bundjalung people, and saying they own these lands to the exclusion of others, which comes under federal native title. You might not like it, but guess what? Times are changing. You don't own the land. We do. Get off it, please. And Hanson shared that video on her official Facebook page with the caption, "This is just a taste of what is to come if Australians don't stop Anthony Albanese's race-based voice and its treaty." And ABC investigations, found the footage that Hanson shared. It was less than half the original length, and the context of the incident was removed. So a very, selective rendering of that.
40% of voters believe the voice gives Indigenous people rights and privileges that other Australians don't have, such as rights to the beach and backyards and many, many other things. We won't be going into fact-checking that really at the moment. It's not true. But one Guardian listener calls this line of thinking the "what about me" factor. Why does this type of messaging work, Larissa?
First of all, First Nations people in this country have inherent rights that the rest of the population do not have. This is our land. We have been here since time immemorial. And that does mean something under our law and legislation. I know the people that were in that video as well, and I understand what was happening, and that's right, the kind of context that you're giving to it, Paul. There's always been this zero-sum campaigning around First Nations people in Australia that has been, it's never found to be true. And so this is something that we've always had to come up against. The idea that we have special treatment and special rights in this country is one thing, but also it goes to what people think that we actually deserve as First Nations people. The majority of non-Indigenous people in this country don't know First Nations people other than what you're reading in conservative media, seeing what Pauline Hanson and that sort of stuff is sharing. And it really harks back to, some damaging rhetoric that really became popularised under Howard as well.
I think that the terms of the scare campaign itself that Hanson is running, it's a sort of slippery slope argument where you can say that the voice can lead to anything under the sun. Like it's a sort of desperate throw a lot of paint at the canvas and see what sticks, because there doesn't have to be any internal consistency in the reasons that that are given to vote against it. Different cohorts of people can latch on to different reasons, and so they're sort of flooding the zone with nonsense.
Celeste, what do you think when you see this type of messaging gaining popularity, gaining traction throughout the referendum?
So many things, because yes, we have been living with it for a long time. I remember being a teenager following the Mabo decision and hearing, how safe is your backyard? It has been going on an incredibly long time. The arguments around anything to do with Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people seem to be, it'll give us special rights, it'll give us special privileges. But perhaps this is part of the tension that I feel with the entire referendum and the Voice campaign itself. The Uluru Statement deals with three things. It's voice, treaty, truth. And truth has been a massive part of what has been missing within broader Australia for an incredibly long time. We've got the projects around massacres across this country. We've had truth-telling exercises like the Royal Commission into Aboriginal Deaths in Custody and the Bring Them Home report. I think that a lot of people in this country actually don't have a clue as to how this country did come to be, what has been erased from historical and contemporary narratives when it comes to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. And I think that that's part of a continuum that has been going on for decades around Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people.